Coming up on Look Today, well, the city of Saratoga Springs passes a resolution on fostering social tolerance and justice within the city. I've got details. And Hadley Luzerne School District voted today on an $8.9 million capital project. More on that coming up. And the Salvation Army of Glens Falls continues to raise funds and recruit volunteers for the holiday season. I've got those details. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome everyone, I'm J. Hood Jackson and this is Look Today. In tonight's program, I sit down with Sarah Craig. She's the Executive Director of Cafe Lena in Saratoga, and she's here to talk about the transformation the cafe recently underwent and its reopening on December 30th. I also sit down with Bob Turner. Now, he's the chair of the Saratoga City Charter Review Commission. He's here to talk about the detailed review of the government in part 2 of my interview with him. Plus, we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties, but first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, the Saratoga Springs City Council recently passed a resolution on fostering more tolerance in our city. Now, after one of the most contentious national elections in our history, a small number of individuals have used the results as justification for aggressive behavior. For example, recently a swastika was drawn in chalk on a pavement in Saratoga. Well, we spoke to Mayor Joanne Yepsen about the difference between symbols of hate and freedom of speech.
I can't answer what they intended by it or who did it. And we did have a Confederate flag in a recent parade not too long ago. So it does happen here. And so first, I think Saratoga has to come to grips with the fact that we're not immune to these actions and these symbols that people are portraying. It doesn't happen often, luckily, and we're a very safe, welcoming community, but it does happen. So what we want to do is encourage that intention, whatever it may be, into a creative and productive dialogue.
Now, this new resolution will develop groundwork for potential humanitarian groups to proactively discuss issues concerning hatred. And we spoke to the mayor about this.
There's enough interest in this community to move forward with a commission that will focus on social justice and human rights, and from an educational standpoint, from a community outreach standpoint. And we've reached out to the only county so far in this state that has started any kind of group like this, and it's Schenectady County. And the director of that program came up and met with a few of us last week.
That's great. In other news, the Hadley Luzerne School District voted on a capital project today. Voters went to the Stuart M. Townsend Elementary School to decide on whether the school district should spend up to $8.9 million for improvement projects. Well, this project would have no impact on taxes and will update infrastructure and improve energy savings to meet the community's needs. Well, we spoke to Beecher Baker. He's a superintendent of Hadley Luzerne School District.
I mean, and that's exactly what it is. It is infrastructure improvements. You know, I like to title the whole project "Taking Care of What We Have." Much like you take care of your home, we need to take care of the school. And so a part of that is the efficiency that we talk about.
Switching from news to weather. Today saw some warmer temperatures and a little bit of sunshine. Let's see how the rest of the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, we're going to head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast. And back to the news. Well, the Salvation Army of Greater Glens Falls is looking for volunteers. Now, this year has been particularly difficult for fundraising. This year's fund drive has been lacking in walk-in donations, bell ringer volunteers, and toy donations. So if you're interested in volunteering, call 792-1960. That's 792-1960. And we spoke to Major David Dean of the Salvation Army.
Well, it's been a rough year for volunteers. We have our best 10 days coming up, and we're still short about 35 volunteers. Have a lot of stores open. We've actually had to close or partially close about 140 stores this year because of volunteers.
And I want to give you that number one more time. It's 792-1960. Up next, I sit down with Sarah Craig. She's the executive director of Cafe Lena in Saratoga, and she's here to talk about the transformation of the cafe when it recently underwent a lot of renovations and its grand opening that's planned for December 30th. Plus, I also sit down with Bob Turner. He's the chair of the Saratoga City Charter Review Commission. He's here to talk about the detailed review of the government in part 2 of my interview with him. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Then give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. We're a little tight on time, but I want to cycle back on something with the Salvation Army. Maybe you need to be my age to remember just how vital that organization is, especially around the holidays. And the Salvation Army in Glens Falls needs help. They need toys. They need bell ringers. Bob, you in Hudson Falls there, you don't even have to dress up. You can just go out there and be Santa Claus just like you are. They need donations. And look, let's help the Salvation Army out. The number again is 792-1960. Okay? All right, tonight on Look TV, it's a Queensbury Town Board meeting. And don't forget, tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.